All right, so on this edition of Late Ass Reviews, we're doing Ready Player One. But then again, I review movies like the 1925 version of Phantom of the Opera, so who the hell cares?
Well, I care. You spoiled that movie for me. I wanted to know how it ended.
Yeah. Speaking of spoilers, we are going to do spoilers right off the top. So the movie's been out for a while. This was a request. So this was purely on a request basis because I didn't know anything about this movie. I knew it was a book. I knew all I knew was that there's like a bunch of cameos in it, like a ridiculous amount of cameos and stuff. Naturally, I was getting a lot of requests, so finally got a little bit of time here. We saw the movie. You've seen it a couple times.
Yeah, I'm on my second time.
Yeah, I've read
This was my first.
I've seen it twice, and I've read the book twice.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So you'll know like the differences between.
Yeah,
the book
yeah.
I think Justin is the only book guy on this one.
It's the only book I've ever read.
Oh,
and you're the only guy wearing a blue shirt.
Exactly. Yeah, I was really unhappy with the green screen work or blue screen work last time, so I'm putting a stop to it.
Why is that a blue screen anyway? Everybody is green now. I'm going to come in wearing green and blue just to get everything covered next time. I'd say it's the most expensive fan fiction I've ever seen. It was good though. It was good.
It was fun. It was definitely fun.
Yeah, I went in with like real low expectations. I thought this was just going to be like a ramshackle affair of just references and cameos. But I walked away. I'm like, oh, that actually told like a story, and it was actually pretty decent. I was pleasantly surprised by it.
Yeah, like if you took all the cameos out of it, it would still work. It would still be a cool movie.
Yeah, if they were just like original characters, just generic like whatever avatars, it would still be fine. It would still work.
Oh, go ahead.
It was definitely made for our generation because like there were kids in the theater, and when they left, they're like, I loved it, but I didn't know who anyone was. And I'm like, I knew who every one of those motherfuckers was.
The one part that I think that you kind of needed some knowledge of the movie is The Shining. You know, the whole joke was the character didn't know what was coming.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, hi, little girl, you know. But you really miss out on the humor if you didn't already see The Shining. Yeah. And who would have thought going into a movie, Ready Player One, that you would need to see The Shining?
And that kind of sucks because, like the kids in the theater, if you wanted to see The Shining later, you now know all about Room 337. You know about the.
I don't think this was a good representation of The Shining. To be honest, have you seen The Shining?
You know what? They probably wouldn't see The Shining anyway.
They didn't even show Jack Nicholson. I guess they couldn't license his.
Yeah, they show him from the back.
I was waiting for that, but it didn't happen.
Not since Who Framed Roger Rabbit have we had like there's truly like we're at like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit level of cameos. But yeah, going back to the fan fiction thing, it definitely reminded me of that song, like the Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny, at the end where they're all fighting all the different.
It kind of reminded me of Wreck-It Ralph, and then the South Park episode Imagination Land. I think that's the closest thing that's come to this.
Yeah.
And thankfully, there wasn't a single Chuck Norris reference, which I was pretty happy about. I thought that overstayed its welcome.
Yeah. Chuck Norris is gone. Like he's trying to like get Texas to secede from the Union. Like people kind of jumped off the Chuck Norris thing.
My favorite thing about this movie is that even though it has the references and stuff that like the internet age craves, it throws back to the 80s, the dawn of video games, all of that. But it also throws back to older Spielberg films. That it's not like it's part of a universe. It's not a sequel. It's just stands on its own as a film with a plot and. You know,
and I'm kind of glad there wasn't like, oh, instead of The Shining, they're going to the Jaws universe because he took her to see Jaws. Like it wasn't like that.
Yeah,
I'm glad they mixed it up a little bit.
I could understand that he downplayed a lot of the Spielberg type stuff just because he didn't want it to be like totally conceited. But I kept thinking, you know, they're lining up all these Atari games and they're like Centipede, Adventure, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, they're talking about Easter eggs and cryptic games, and I'm just like, I'm waiting for Raiders of the Lost Ark or E.T. on Atari to show up, and it never did.
Someone holds E.T. because I remember seeing it in the movie.
Yeah,
they did mention Sword Quest.
Yeah, there's only a few Spielberg references I saw. The T-Rex from Jurassic Park. He produced Back to the Future. There's the car. There's a Martian ship from the original War of the Worlds, and he did the remake.
That I thought was awesome because instead of doing the remake one, they went back to the original.
Yeah, they didn't do that for some other things, but I think those are the only like real Spielberg references I could actually like focus on. But I'm sure there were other ones. But like you said, he downplayed it.
On the other end of the spectrum, there's Jim Raynor from StarCraft. You see Tracer, Overwatch.
Yeah.
There's
Jack Slater on the billboard.
That's what I was saying. There's a reference in the movie no one else is gonna get but me. But it was Jack Slater. Jack Slater 3 from Last Action Hero. When he's driving by in the car, there's a movie theater. I'm like, Jack Slater.
Oh, and that movie kind of has a similar type of thing where it's like this universe of like all these different
but that one's good because it has all the old monsters in it and they do like the Shakespeare beginning. Like Last Action Hero is like definitely one of my favorite movies.
The animated cat.
Danny DeVito.
So if you can't afford to see Ready Player One, go rent Last Action Hero.
I feel like seeing it a second time was good for me because when I went in because I was so hyped from the book, because when it came out in 2011 I was like, oh wow, this is great, and I read it again the next year. So I was like, oh, how are they gonna do a movie? How are they gonna do a movie? I saw the trailer. I'm like, that looks okay. So I went with really high expectations, and when I left, I was like, that wasn't like the book. I hate this movie. But upon the second watch with you guys, I was like, you know what? They did their own thing. There's good things or bad things. I really liked it.
See, the second time around, you got my experience because I came out of the theater. I'm like, this is the greatest ever. We're going back. I love this. Oh my god. One more thing I want to say about cameos, though.
Yeah.
The best cameo was the Chucky cameo, because we got our PG-13 F-bomb.
Yeah.
It's fucking Chucky.
What I want to say about Chucky is last year his 7th movie came out. It's his 2nd direct-to-video movie. It went right to Netflix. Usually you think that'd be like the end of someone's career. Now he's in a Spielberg movie.
Wow.
He bounced back in less than a year.
Closest we ever got to a Freddy versus Jason versus Chucky movie. It's like, it's making all these things seem possible, you know? But the one cameo, early on I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, so there's going to be tons and tons of cameos. And I was just playing a little game with myself thinking, like, who would I like to see? And I thought Mechagodzilla, but that's not going to happen because it's Toho, and I'm thinking that they already got the Iron Giant. I'm like, this isn't going to happen. Mechagodzilla's too big. And then what do you know? Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not quite. It's like if the new Godzilla had a Mechagodzilla, it would look like this.
But this would be Mechagodzilla 4. Because they reboot Mechagodzilla so many times that it didn't. To me, it didn't really matter. I felt like, oh well, this is what he would look like now, probably.
Well, to be fair, you know, this movie takes place in like the 2040s, 2050s, whatever it was. Maybe another Mechagodzilla movie comes out in the next 20 years, and that's
also, let's be honest, the original Mechagodzilla is not going to be agile enough to do all those fighting. The original Mechagodzilla could probably be taken out by most of those characters.
I'm wondering if Japan could survive a Gundam versus Mechagodzilla crossover, if that would actually happen, because I thought that was probably the coolest Japanese
battle. That was cool.
I mean, I guess this is my favorite movie based on a young adult novel in a long time, like Hunger Games and Maze Chaser, what the hell is it called? Maze Runner.
Which was actually decent from what I remember. I didn't watch the last one.
But it's good to see one that's like, all right, I guess. I don't know.
I'm glad Spielberg directed it. I thought he probably did. I thought he was doing this for as a cash grab, because outside of his little films like The Post and stuff, like more character-driven stuff, when he tries to do big family stuff, it doesn't really make an impact anymore. Like, no one saw the BFG.
Yeah.
Adventures of Tintin kind of just came and went, even though it was okay. So I felt like he was like, I need to make a big family hit. Let me just make a movie full of references and maybe people like me.
Kind of just going back to just being a fan himself for once again.
But then it ended up not being that. So he told a really nice story with characters I actually cared about. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, any other director probably would have messed it up.
I think it's weird because the author, Ernest Cline, he did the screenplay as well. But the book and the movie are not completely, but they're pretty different. Yeah. But I think the book's too complicated and boring at parts where it wouldn't work. There's all these references from reciting all the lines in War Games to playing Joust to all these D&D and stuff references that people don't want to sit through. Yeah. And I guess they couldn't get Matthew Broderick.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think Spielberg cares about any of that stuff. He's more focused on the characters and telling the story.
That's the other thing. Well, is in the actual book, Wade, he starts out as kind of a fat kid, not as fat as me, probably as fat as you.
Oh, okay.
And
he's still fat though. All right,
still fat, and he's sitting in a lawn chair inside the van, and he can't even stand up because there's not enough room. He doesn't have this super rig with the running thing. He doesn't have any money. He barely even has the gloves. It's terrible. Yeah. And as he goes through the film, he loses weight and he gets better. He moves in a better apartment and all that. So they lost a lot with the character arc. because now he starts out as Cyclops from X-Men.
Because he is Cyclops from X-Men.
I think that the message of the film resonates far more today than when the book was written, about separating your virtual life from
a lot has happened since 2011.
Real life, and but yeah, now it's like
spend more time in the real world.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool that you know all these things, but you know, hang out with your friends once in a while.
Yeah, like I feel happier when I'm not like plugged in, you know, to all the digital. You know, the digital age is kind of like it consumes you, you know. So it's important to get
at the
out.
same time, though, you see what kind of living situations these people have. Like
like they didn't have like. Well, I thought that was pretty interesting too. Like as soon as they set it up, and you just see the world that they live in. Yeah, and it's like so compact because the real world just doesn't mean much to them. And
I don't think they did that as much. Like they definitely showed that, like, oh, it's a fun place to go and we do a lot of stuff here. But in the book, it's like that's where all the business is done. That's where you go to school. Like all the kids go to school in the Oasis because he finds the first challenge on his school planet where all the schools do look like the ones from like Fast Time and all that, whatever it was about Breakfast Club.
Yeah, I had some questions about this universe. Like, what's anyone's job?
Most people, like, they like the construction guy. Like most people just work and do stuff in the Oasis because that funds the economy. Well, the whole thing is the whole world's falling apart. Like, there's global warming. There's all this awful stuff. In the movie, they talk about like the cornstarch, like
and like the bandwidth war riots.
The bandwidth riots.
Which remind me of the franchise wars from Demolition Man.
All restaurants are Taco Bell. In the book, it's not in Columbus. It's in Oklahoma City. That's where he lives in the stacks. Like, it's real shitty there. Right. But around Columbus, it's too high rent because that's where the Oasis servers are. So he moves there once he becomes rich. But in this movie, they just conveniently put it all together.
Yeah. Which that's kind of like an analog to like stock traders today. It's like, how close can you live to Wall Street? Yeah. What kind of connection can you have? That kind of thing.
The only other two things I'll bring up from the book, because I know that's boring, is Daito is straight up murdered by IOI. They take him and throw him out of his apartment window, like in the suit. And Shoto doesn't want. I don't think he wants anyone to win because he's like addicted to the Oasis, so they don't want to leave. They don't want anyone to win it or change it. So that's why he's kind of hesitant to fight in the final battle. I believe, I forget. And in the book, H is just like a normal, looks like Wade, like white, like teenage guy, not ogre dude. And then they did the voice change thing on Helen, the female actor, which is kind of weird. That
was real. Like when I heard the voice, I'm like, that's a woman's voice pitched up to be a man. Like that's going to be the reveal later in the movie.
Well, the book,
and she kind of like hints at it when she's warning him.
Well, in the book, she's black, she's gay, and as a person of color, she says, in the Oasis, I can be a white man and be straight, and people respect me. And I thought that was a really interesting thing they were trying to do, but in this they're like, oh, you're an ogre. And
you're an ogre. You're a robot ogre.
And the only time you can tell that she might be gay is when she's going to make out with the lady in The Shining. So that's I don't know. I think they dropped the ball on that.
I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with it. I don't know.
I noticed the effects. Like a lot of times when I look at these movies, I think about how could the effects have been done different without computer generation. But this time, it didn't matter to me at all. Like, it just seemed like, well, this is exactly how this world would look because it takes place inside of a video game, pretty much.
Except for the Shining part, where they actually did it on location, and then when they're in, like, the guy's office, I'm like, that's actually cool. I wish we could have seen, like, more, like, Oasis stuff, but on, like, actual sets.
Yeah.
I don't know, because that Shining part happens, and it, like, threw me off. I'm like, oh, is this the video game world? What's going on?
Yeah, it was a little bit kind of hodgepodge with some of that.
Yeah. As I was watching the movie, I thought back to early internet attempts to create an Oasis.
Second Life?
And I thought, like, Second Life. But even before Second Life, there was this thing called Alpha World and World's Chat, where basically you could build a virtual home in a 3D world. And I think it's still out there. Like, nobody's on it, but you could go to it. And having, like, these virtual places be created and be static and virtual property rights and all of that. And, like, in this one, though, they're knocking the roof off of bars and like the clubs and everything like that. So they don't really touch on that. But I thought back to those early communities, and I'm waiting for the current version of them in VR.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's like VR chat, but it's awful.
It's awful. Like, do you know the way?
Yeah. Ryan, were you a Club Penguin or a Habbo Hotel guy? Or
I was aware of it. I did not participate.
Are you
kept
sure?
It at arm's length. No, they couldn't get me in.
Yeah. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You're so much better off. I envy you.
I think that in the real world, the people who are closest to living this are the people who are playing EVE Online.
Maybe I don't know anything about it.
Because they have the money and you know, like imagine if you had a spaceship in a video game that was worth $3,000 in real money, and you worked 2 years with a virtual corporation to make this money in this game, and the entire economy was all just in the game. And literally, there have been space battles in this game where people lose $40,000 worth of
really happening?
virtual
for real?
Yeah, EVE
for
Online.
real.
Yeah.
EVE Online.
All those people need to watch Ready Player One to
All
learn
these
the
people,
lesson.
they need to learn, and like the top people in this game, they don't even log into the game. It's all like political intrigue and they pull the strings behind the scenes.
Really?
Yeah, it's insane.
Wow.
So this movie's gonna happen, is what you're saying?
Oh yeah,
Well,
no doubt.
2045. I mean, that's enough time, right?
Yeah, I'm ready. I get programming, right?
Oh, how do you like? We have another future movie that we're gonna live for. You know, hopefully. So what was everybody's favorite and least favorite thing about the movie? I guess I'll go first. I really like the. I mean, just off the top of my head, I like the Avatar romance aspect because it was kind of like, you know, just the idea of like, oh, you'll be disappointed if you see me in real life, and like people hiding behind these avatars, and then, you know, I like the fact that then they found each other in real life, and I kind of, you know, that had some substance.
But then
he really lucked out. She turned out to be like a hot chick.
Yeah, I know.
Really lucked out.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, she has a birthmark on her eye. I'm like, barely.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
It's like having a sweet like sword cut in
He
your
fell
face.
in love with you when he thought you were like some weird scaly girl. Like, the birthmark's not gonna bother me.
But then I think the only thing that I was like kind of iffy on that I recall was the idea of the keys. Even though I liked the idea that there were 3 keys and that they have to find these, so that kind of set like kind of like a bookmark to the film where you know where it's going to go. Like, all right, so they got to find these 3 keys. But it had me wondering the whole time, like the way they found the clues to find the key kind of felt like a stretch because of how huge this world is. And these keys could literally be anywhere.
Well, the book makes it easier because they have like the almanac of all his things, so they know like, oh, let's try the Wargames place, let's try this and that, because like the Gunters in that universe, they're not like normal people who use the Oasis. They're like insane and they love like they're too obsessed with Halliday stuff, so they attack it. Kind of like all the people in the movie in the blue suits who are like specialists on like what he does. The guys at the Atari games. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like. In the book, not everyone's looking for it. Most people gave up. It's only the people that are really into James Halliday's stuff. So I don't know. It's weird.
Given how much we see like modern data mining and stuff, if this was a real video game, people would have figured it out in an hour.
Oh yeah, well it's kind of like the race where he goes backwards. Like none of the 101 guys would have just went backwards even accidentally and just got it. I guess you have to go full speed. Like they should have made a reference to like if he went back and hit the wall, he would lose everything. So there's something to lose.
That was actually one of my favorite parts. Is when he's like underneath the level.
It was cool. It was like boundary break video game.
Yeah,
like you see behind the walls.
Like what's that channel? She Says or something.
Yeah,
he breaks the boundaries of video games, and you see how they work. So that was really cool how they did that.
It reminded me of Portal.
It was like Portal, where it's like when you get behind the scenes and you're like, and all the turrets are sitting there.
Yeah. My favorite part of the movie is when the bad guy's doing the classic cliche of join me and we'll work together, and like. You could tell, like, this business guy doesn't give a shit about anything. Yeah. And he's, like, trying to relate to the kid. He's like, I like playing video games.
Crack open
a tab. And, like, there's, like, the room of these nerds just feeding him
I never even had a tab, to be honest.
It was awful diet soda.
Like, if this movie were made in the 90s, he would have had, like, a backwards hat and threw his jacket on and like, hey, I like to skateboard too, man.
Yeah. It's like Noah's Arcade and World.
Hello, fellow kids. Yeah, I really liked in the movie. I liked the character IROC. Because he's like, it's me, IROC.
We never got to see who he was. I know it's T.J. Miller.
Yeah, but you never see him in the real world. Well, IROC's not in the book.
Oh, okay.
Because like he never had like this main henchman guy, and I liked him a lot because he's just like, wait, you're gonna blow up the world, camper? Like I'm out of here. Like he just leaves.
I was sad we never saw. Maybe it's because T.J. Miller's like a crazy person right now, calling him bomb threats and stuff. But I would have liked to have seen like what he looked like, because I know T.J. Miller, he's a funny looking dude. I was waiting to see him like on the computer and stuff.
IROC's character felt like every single like addicted World of Warcraft guy I ever played with. Who has like every item. Yeah. Like, and he's like, yeah, I got 10 of those, you know, this thing, and here you go.
But I guess I like IROC the most, and what I not dislike, but the movie wasn't obscure as it should have been, because in the book there's stuff about like Black Tiger in the video game. There's Zork. There's like a lot of stuff of Rush the band and stuff like that. There's Leopardon. He fights in that instead of the Gundam, I think, which is the Spider-Man, the Japanese Spider-Man robot. Remember, because he had a giant robot.
Does anybody get eaten by a Gru in the?
There's no Grus.
That's like the Zork reference.
Yeah, well, maybe there was. I know he plays all the Zork because he goes back to Halliday's room. There's like a planet that's just hot, there's a planet where every house is Halliday's house, and you can look through it and stuff, like the room at the end. And he plays Zork there, and he thought it was going to make him win, but it didn't. Yeah. I don't know, it's weird.
Nobody likes Zork.
There wasn't anything that really bothered me about it. I wasn't like totally blown away either. I just really enjoyed it, thought it was a fun movie. Man. And I kind of feel like it's today's version of, today's equivalent of like Total Recall or The Matrix or something like that.
Modern day,
Yeah, which is a good thing. So it just depends how much do you like it, how much do you get out of it. It's worth seeing.
There is some like cynical stuff in here. Like the movie has a huge cast of characters that are all Warner Brothers properties or Universal and Fox properties. Like there's name drops to Star Wars and Marvel. But no Star Wars and Marvel, because that's Disney, no Lucasfilm stuff.
And the only Star Trek stuff was his funeral.
But then that makes you feel greedy. Like, oh, we didn't get, like, you know, more Star Wars.
More Star Trek.
Because there's so much.
But then a lot of times I felt like they were just, like, advertising and stuff. Because, like, all the Batman stuff comes from mostly Arkham Knight, which is a video game. And then Goro looks like he's from Mortal Kombat X.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers owns those franchises. So it feels like they just went to the people who made those games. And we're like, give us your character models. We own it anyway.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a money saving thing.
Like with a movie like this, you kind of wish that it was just a total free for all. That like, hey, like let's just put aside all this licensing and just, hey, anybody who has any character, whatever, just let's throw it in. And if you don't want to be in it, then it's your loss.
Yeah. But like some of it like kind of took me out of it because again, like I mean, I like Arkham Knight, but like you wouldn't think to see the Arkham Knight in this. No one really cares. And then, like, you see the Ninja Turtles, and it's the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles because his production company works with Warner Brothers. And it's like, no one would play as the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles. Well, I'm not even a Ninja Turtles guy, and I wouldn't play as them. I play as the 80s one.
We're going to go into the depths of nerddom, though, with this. Because the new Ninja Turtles now look like the movie Turtles in the cartoon. So if it's in the future, if they continue on this way...
I'm actually shocked. Kong didn't look like the new Kong, but then I guess he couldn't climb on the building because he needs to look more like a gorilla.
Would he look more like Peter Jackson?
He just looked like a generic gorilla.
Okay.
Like, not any particular Kong. I thought that was weird that they didn't just use their
Kong. Like Rampage George. Just, almost like...
Yeah, so that kind of took me out of like the whole like not being able to use certain characters. It's like when Wreck-It Ralph had a character that was like Kano, but since it's Disney, they couldn't do it. Yeah. It's just like, just don't do it. Just don't do it.
I guess my biggest disappointment is I didn't like how they handled Ogden Morrow, which was his, like... Because, one, the old man makeup and all that stuff. The curator stuff made sense, but in... the book, not to bring it up again, but he's like this level 99 wizard. It's his club they're hanging out in when it goes down. He brings them to his facility at the end to fight the war so they're safe from 101 and stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought because I knew it was Simon Pegg doing the curator's voice. It was like real obvious because his American accent's really bad.
Isn't it weird to hear him do an American
accent? It's really weird to hear him do an American accent.
Is it bad? I thought it was good.
Maybe it's just because I've never seen him do accents. Maybe like other than Scottish, which was bad on purpose. But so the curator, I'm like, all right, that's going to be Simon Pegg, and I thought it was going to be introduced. And then he just shows up at the end of the movie. He's like, hi, I'm Simon Pegg. I'm here. I'm still with this company, even though I left.
I actually really liked all the James Halliday flashback stuff. I think he did a really good job. I know you didn't really care too much for him, but I liked it. I liked what he was saying. He's like, oh, reality's the only place you can get a good meal. You know, like I was like, oh, you know, I like this guy. It's fine. He hangs out with his younger self. It's a little weird, but it's fine.
And he likes Rush apparently. So.
The Rush is a whole part of the book because they go from like Blade Runner to Rush to something else. It's like really obscure shit.
Really?
And I think a regular audience would be like, what?
Huh.
So that's what they dumbed it down good enough.
Yeah, and they had to, because I know the book is mostly just 80s stuff, right?
It's mostly 70s and definitely mostly like early 80s.
I think it was smart. I think it was smart for them to add newer stuff. I know a lot of people were turned off by that, but this is 2049.
Well,
like,
how does licensing work with a book? Like, are they like? Is there a different set of characters?
No, they go, oh, like, the book goes crazy. The book's like, and now Leopardon and Mechagodzilla and the Evangelions fought each other. And you're like, I guess just write whatever you want.
I don't know. I don't know how they do that.
I would say that, like, the motion picture industry and the music industry have much more granular copyrights, and it's much more recorded, like that kind of thing.
That's probably considered parody, fair use.
So, like with
making something
with
new.
Books, books, the fair use protections are much better because they kind of haven't been surrounded by these recording societies.
They're not making, and it's not like a Mechagodzilla or Evangelion book. It's like, and then they were there.
Yeah.
So I guess any book, like 50 Shades of Grey, any of that stuff, like they should just put these people in it. Why not? Yeah. And then the Ninja Turtles
and then
came
Optimus Prime
came. I'm gonna write a book today. It's gonna be real easy.
50 Shades of Green, the Ninja Turtles, April O'Neil. Sure, I'll help out.
But it would have to be the new Ninja Turtles so I can sell it as a movie.
I will not help out.
I don't have a lot of criticisms for this movie. I mean, just little nitpicky things. I mean, it's quickly becoming, one of my top films. But my nitpicky things are like, oh, there's a great police force that can take people down, and then there's also slave computer camps.
Oh yeah, wait, why is the company allowed to enslave people outside the wall? That was weird.
Because they're the biggest company in the world, or the second to the Oasis company, and everyone owes them outstanding debt, so they probably pass laws and they'll just... It's a post-apocalyptic future. How about you calm down?
But hold on. It's a post-apocalyptic future where there's like beautiful open air produce markets and you know what my problem is? Like the movie like shifts in the middle from like post-apocalyptic stacks to like almost present day like cityscape.
Well, it's because in the book, like all that kind of city stuff happens in the last 10%. Like he doesn't meet her till literally the last page or two of the book. Like in real life, like she's like hidden away the entire book. And this one, they're like in the middle, like there she is. She's okay looking. Yay! Good
for you.
You guys go in The Shining and be creepy. I don't know. Yeah. It's fine.
But yeah, I think you would enjoy this movie, especially if you like Warner Brothers properties. You're gonna love this movie.
It's kind of like the Warner Brothers expanded universe. Yeah. If you saw the last movie. Here's where they all come together. Yeah. That's what Universal should have done with their monsters. Just get right to the monsters. Because at least if it tanks, at least you got all of them in one movie before it.
Yeah, I just really hope this doesn't open the floodgates and all. Kind of like how like PUBG, everyone's gonna do battle royale games. I hope we don't get a billion movies where it's like let's cram as many characters in because they love Ready Player One.
Yeah, it has its place. Like this has its place, but it shouldn't be like
I feel like I really needed this film because every film I've been watching has been sequel-itis, universe, blockbuster. That kind of thing, and I finally just got to see a movie that it begins, it ends.
So you feel it kind of satired it a bit, like the whole cinematic universes a bit, like it was kind of making fun of it a little bit, like
it's like because you're fine with being a nostalgic shitfest as long as it's a self-contained.
Self-contained.
Because considering the Marvel Cinematic Universe is at their 80th movie now.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't hate
Cabin in the Woods. Yeah,
Cabin in the Woods is a good example.
I guess screw the Universal.
How awesome would it have been if Cabin in the Woods actually had the license to a lot of characters?
Like
instead of like the fake Pinhead, it was Pinhead.
Yeah.
Oh man, can they just remake that like Ready Player One? That'd be really good.
I really like that movie.
Cabin in the Woods is great. Have you seen that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
The ending, it's amazing.
And I was lucky when I saw Cabin in the Woods. Nobody told me.
Yeah, that's the best way to go into it.
Because I was watching, I'm like, this is just a standard, crappy, cliche horror movie. And then wait, okay, I get it now.
I actually saw it really late, so I already knew the ending and whatever. Like, I saw it late, like years later, kind of like how we reviewed Ready Player One years later.
Yeah, right.
Good.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah, it gets a 1 from me.
Oh, a 1? Just a 1?
Oh, it's 1 out of It's binary, 1 out of 0.
It's binary.
It's a 0 or 1.
It's a binary rating scale.
I used to carry to be like, well, that's not good. That's a 7, whatever. But now I'm just like, hey, just go see it. Don't see it. Whatever.
Yeah.
This one, you're not wasting your money on.
No, it's good.
No.
Yeah.
Boom.